Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where entitled Karens truly believe the world revolves around them and nobody else matters. And in today's episode, we've got scamming Karens, people teaching their kids to steal from stores, a Facebook Karen who tries to destroy OP's life, and one OP asks a wild question about her husband, which might leave your jaws on the floor. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories today. Don't shake your heads too hard, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So when I was in college, I used to clean apartments/paint apartments. I would usually charge anywhere between $60 to $100 a day of cleaning. This included laundry, cleaning, or organizing. I would charge $80 per painting a bedroom. That said, the woman, the Karen of this story, lived in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. The woman's apartment had 2 bedrooms, a living room, a dining room, bathroom, and kitchen. Apartments around this area usually cost $1.2 million and up. And this is during the 2008 recession. She hires me for 4 days. I tell her I'll charge her $450, and this included painting the living room, 1 bedroom, and cleaning the entire apartment. My fee is actually reasonable because painters would charge $1,000 for 1 bedroom. I'm excited because I'm about to start my 2nd semester of college and I need money for books. She agrees it's fair, so the next day I start working. I start painting, and keep in mind, this is during the summer. I keep working for the next 4 days. I even asked Karen if I can bring help, my mom, and she says it's okay. On the 4th day, my mom and I are finishing up laundry, and we start putting stuff away. That's when I hear the doorbell, and Karen asks me to open the door. She tells me it's a custom chandelier being delivered from Italy that cost her over $15,000. She starts bragging about the price, and the electrician goes to work, installing her new chandelier in the dining room. An hour later, I hear the doorbell again, and she tells me to go get the door. The woman had ordered more Italian furniture, custom made just for her, and she starts bragging again. This time, it was a new dining table that cost $20,000 and chairs for $5,000 apiece. But that wasn't all. They brought in a bedroom set for $40,000. In total, she spent $100,000 worth of furniture. And I know this because the woman starts bragging about every single item she bought and the cost. And starting now, I was getting a strange vibe from her. I didn't know why. So I ignore my gut feeling and I continued working. She then starts a phone conversation with her children's private school, telling them that she's unable to pay the tuition, and then asked if she could use the scholarship funds that the school has for her kids. Cue a really bad feeling here. At this point, I start getting worried because she's getting angry. The school administrator recommended her to enroll her children to public school, and she starts screaming even more. She even hung up the phone and she looked at me and said, "My kids are not going to public school because they will end up like the help." And hearing her say that, I think, ouch. I start cleaning even faster to get out of there. Not soon after this, the electricians finish their job. They ask Karen for their pay, which was $150, and cue the Karen tears. The woman actually tells them that she can't pay them because they can't speak English, and she won't pay them because she doesn't have any money. Now keep in mind, the chandelier cost $15,000. And this is when I stepped in. I told her that those men deserve to get paid, and if they don't get paid, I will allow them to take the chandelier. Hearing me say that, she laughed in my face because she thought I was bluffing. A few minutes passed, and Karen literally told the electricians to leave, or she'll call the cops to tell them they were stealing. I called her bluff, and I start to call the cops first. And this is when she lunges for me and she took my phone away from my hand. And she says to me that she just lost her $250,000 job and she can't pay none of us. She then goes on to tell a sob story that she has to withdraw her kids from private school and they might have to sell their apartment and buy a home in cash in Long Island, and how her husband might not be able to pay the lease on his brand new Range Rover. Like, the woman was full on telling me her sob story. This is when I tell her that I'm sorry this happened to her, but we've already done the work and we need to get paid. And again, to pay the electricians so they can go home. This is when Karen takes out money from her purse and she waved the money in my face, and she told me that she won't be able to pay me. I just shrugged and I told her I was taking a chair instead, and the face she made when I told her this. She then takes out more money from her purse and she waved $80 in front of me. And then she said, "Take it or leave it, I'm not paying you $450. I just grabbed the money and left. I was very sad that my mom witnessed all of this. We went out to eat and I spent the $40. A few days later, I got a cleaning job. It was a one-day job and the guy paid me $100 and tipped me $40 because I got the job right. It felt nice to be respected by another person. This person even made me lunch. Humanity was restored again. Freaking nothing worse than a rich scamming Karen, right? And for sure that woman had money, like she just didn't want to pay OP and the chandelier guys for their work. And honestly, I don't even know if she lost her job or not, because the way that woman was acting, it could have been some elaborate ploy to get out of paying for the service. Like, oh, woe is me, I don't have money, we might have to sell this apartment and buy a single house cash. Seems super fishy to me. Like, I don't blame OP for not wanting to stay a minute longer, but honestly, I would have held my ground at that point, because there's absolutely no way that I'm walking away with $80 after doing a $450 job that took 4 days. Let her call the cops. Guys, let me know your thoughts. I recently moved and needed a job, so I took an easy one at a laundromat. It was really chill most of the time, but during Sundays, it would get exceptionally busy. Most customers were honest, simple people just wanting to get their clothes done. I mainly worked the counter, and occasionally, we would have people drop off clothes for a wash and fold service. And those are normally timed orders, so it could get busy, especially if you were the only one working. So with that said, there was one trouble lady who we'll call Karen. And Karen had 3 unruly kids. She would often drop them off at the laundromat and use it as free daycare, more or less, and management wouldn't do anything about it. Now, normally I wouldn't mind, except these kids had sticky fingers, and they would steal things, mostly for the sake of stealing. Normally, it was random stuff, like paper clips, tacks, or trinkets, but one day, they decided to try to take some merchandise that management had put behind an unlocked display case. It wasn't anything expensive, just toys. So long story short, it was busy, and I couldn't watch everything, and they stole like $30 of stuff. I caught them, and when I brought it up to the mom, she denied it, and she got very defensive. She complained to my higher-up, and I got reprimanded for offending a regular customer. Well, my story doesn't end there. I learned a little later that she would instruct her kids to go steal soap from people to wash her clothes. I tried to be sympathetic, and I thought that maybe she was in a tough situation, but the way she carried herself has this aura of arrogance around her. She started stealing soap after I caught her kids, so I started getting a small bottle of Gain and putting it on a work cart, slightly hidden but visible. I kept it about halfway full. I would then watch her kids and their patterns, and without a doubt, one kid would go hit a game machine we had there. The woman herself would cause problems over something petty or small, usually not enough suds in her machine, or dust, or something sticky on a table somewhere. And while she was talking, the smallest kid would run down an aisle and screech, so naturally you would turn that way. The middle kid would then act like he was going to the bathroom as it passes by the work cart. And when the little kid screamed, he would dart over, grab the soap on the cart, and then put it in his mom's purse. They did this a few times, so I decided to get back at them. I knew from previous experience with her family that they do laundry every Sunday, but they skip the 3rd Sunday in a cycle, and then double up on the 4th. So regular, none, then double. I let them steal the decoy laundry detergent on the 2 regular shifts, financed by my money, not the store's. And on the 4th Sunday, I prepared a special bottle of laundry detergent. I took a little water and cornstarch and I mixed it with concentrated bleach to thicken it up a bit so it looked more like the soap they used to wash clothes. Now, I did want to dye it to match the color, but you know, bleach. The first 2 batches didn't go well, but the 3rd one was slightly goopy, not quite the consistency of Gain, but thick enough to kind of not feel so liquidy. Sure enough, they came in that Sunday and the bottle was planted. Her kids did the usual routine and they grabbed the bottle of goopy bleach. She then went about her normal routine, complaining about the suds in the washer again, blah blah blah. She then grabbed the bleach and she emptied it in, and on this day, she happened to be washing a double load of colored clothes. This is when I say out loud, "Oh, clear gain, I've never seen that before, that's odd." And she responds with, "It's a special type that I brought from home." Defensively, of course. So I say, "That's interesting." The woman then tosses the empty bottle on top of the washer without a care in the world. 30 minutes later, all the clothes are absolutely ruined. And I mean, bleach stains on almost everything. It was a mess. She's of course up in arms, blaming the machine. That's when I grab the bottle, smell it, and I go, "I think that special gain must have had bleach in it." And this is when it hits her. She expressly said that she had brought it from home, so she either admits to stealing or she admits to bleaching her own clothes. The woman naturally accuses me, but it was a fairly busy day that day, and a few customers remembered her tirade, and they said that she brought it from home. The owner of the store denied to pay for damages to the clothes, and I did feel bad because it must have been $500 or so of ruined clothes. But hey, don't steal. And that's exactly it. Like, it's so hard to feel bad for someone who repeatedly steals and did it to themselves. And the nerve of the Karen to try to get compensation for her ruined clothes. I will say, however, the only thing I do feel bad for is her kids, being raised by someone who's literally teaching them how to work together to commit crimes. Some frickin' people. Okay, so this one's going to be long, but I've been dying to tell this story. It's about how I put this narcissistic woman in her place after being accused of stealing on Facebook. A few years ago, I was involved in one of those swap and sell groups on Facebook. It was specifically for stay-at-home moms and mostly centered around trading and selling toys, clothes, etc. It was an awesome resource because you could get things for your kids at a very low price and often make new friends in the process. There was this one woman, however, that made the swap and sell group an unpleasant place. We'll call her Karen, of course. This woman was horrible. In person, all she ever did was talk about herself, specifically about how great she was. She did the same for her kids. She would also slip in little hints about how you or your children were inferior in some way. For example, she would say things like, "Oh, your kid's soccer team came in 3rd place last season. My son's team came 1st. But that's not very surprising considering how good my son is. I must have done a great job raising him, and it's a shame that others can't do the same with their kids." She really would say things like that. I just did the best I could to avoid her if I saw her in the next aisle of a store. One day, she saw me with my infant son. My son was crying, so she came over and said, "Oh, let me hold him. I can get him to calm down." I've been known to be more motherly than some moms out there. And seriously, it was infuriating. Almost everyone hated her. But Karen really took it to the next level when it came to the swap and sell. She would be the first in line to buy something, only to demand a lower price upon inspection. She would say stuff like, "These clothes look dirtier than what I saw in the picture. I will only pay half." And seriously, she did this crap all the time. And if the seller didn't oblige, she would post a rant how they screwed her over, to never do business with them, yada yada yada. Now, this sort of talk was technically against the rules of swap and sell, but Karen was friends with the administrator, so nothing was ever done. The admin was lazy anyways and rarely interacted with the group. Furthermore, Karen had a few cronies that would send private messages to everyone in the group. They would badmouth sellers who didn't accept Karen's half-price crap. It was borderline blackmail. I always felt some anxiety when I posted something for sale because I was afraid she would claim it first and then pull her scam, which she did several times. The woman had Facebook hooked up to her phone, and since she sat home all day and did nothing all day, she was really fast to jump on items for sale. Oftentimes, she would buy something and then it would appear for sale months later at a jacked up price. And what made this even more frustrating was the fact that she was a pastor's wife and she had good standing in the community. Nobody knew what a bitch she was, even though she was toxic, selfish, and entitled who only cared about herself. I put up with this woman for 3 years, and then, one day, I had enough. I listed a toy for sale. The thing needed 2 AA batteries to work. And knowing this, I purchased a new pack of batteries and put them in the toy. I then tested the toy and it worked. I said batteries were included in my listing and everything seemed to be in order. Within 2 minutes, Karen jumps in and she says she wants it. She obviously saw it pop up on her phone when she was lounging around at home. The rule said that I had to offer it because it was first come, first serve. So with a heavy heart, I set up a time to bring it to her house, as Karen always refused to meet halfway or come to my home. I dropped off the toy when I was in town running errands the next day. Karen didn't try to pull the usual "it looks dirtier than the picture" scam, so that was nice. She then asked if the batteries were included, and I said yes. I then received payment and go about my day. Karen was playing fair, and I'm thinking it's about damn time. But when I got home, I had 20+ notifications on Facebook. Karen tags me in a post, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, this can't be good. In her post, she claimed that there were no batteries. She then posted a picture of the empty battery slots and shamed me for my shady sales tactics. And then she gave a little sob story how her chubby 13-year-old soccer star was upset he couldn't play with it, and she demanded her money back. And on top of this crap storm, one of my friends PM'd me saying that people were receiving messages from Karen's cronies about how selfish and shady I was. And I'm thinking, that bitch. I've never been more pissed or hurt in my life, and I was done putting up with her crap. So I responded with a rather lengthy message calling her out on her scams in the past. I said that she was a liar for removing the batteries, and that she should be ashamed of herself for behaving in such a manner when she was a pastor's wife. Many people liked my comment, and I knew that crap was about to hit the fan, but I didn't care anymore. When I logged in Facebook the next day, I had a ton of notifications and messages. My stomach dropped. I skimmed through the messages first. Some were positive, thanking me for calling Karen out, and some were negative from her cronies, saying what a rude person I was to say those things about her. And as for the notifications, most of them stemmed from a single post that had been stickied by the admin in the Swap and Sell group. Apparently the admin overcame her laziness just long enough to publicly humiliate and ruin me. The post said that thieves, yes thieves, were not tolerated in the group, and then went on to mention me by name. And this was no small thing, as there were many women involved in this group, and we were in a small Midwestern town where word traveled fast. My reputation as a mom was being attacked. The post then went on to say that rather than banning me, I had the opportunity to apologize publicly so everyone can see, and then refund the money I owed. Of course, the first comment to the post was from Karen. She said something that no doubt she's been dying to say for a long time. It went something like this. The comment said, "Angela, not my real name. You've stolen money from me and tried to blame your past actions on me as well. And yet, in the face of your accusations, I've been patient and kind. This peace comes from the Lord. If you would only accept Him as your Savior, you would feel the same peace. If nothing else, this whole situation just proves that I'm way better than you." Over 40 people liked that comment, and I'm thinking, holy cow, this stuff has to stop. How dare this narcissist turn the tables and accuse me of actions that were actually hers? At this point, I thought to myself, the time for vengeance had come. Now this part requires a lot of explaining. You see, Karen had a secret, one that I stumbled on by accident several years prior, while reading the local newspaper while doing errands in the next town over. In one small corner regarding court happenings, there was a column about a man who had killed his friend while high on bath salts. I don't remember the exact details of the crime, nor did I know what nature of the court proceedings were. But thanks to the column, I did know that this man had been found mentally unfit to stand trial and sent to the state mental hospital, and I did know the names of his parents, whom were present at the hearing. The parents, strangely enough, had the exact same names as Karen and her husband. So I did some Googling and I discovered that this man was Karen's oldest son, who she had never mentioned having for obvious reasons. This crime happened when Karen and her family were living in this other town. Soon after her son was sent to the mental ward, she and her husband moved away to my town. Now, I knew that she had lived elsewhere before joining the swap and sell, but I had no idea that she moved to distance herself and her husband from their dark secret. So with that out of the way, this was my short and sweet response to Karen's comment. I still remember it word for word. I responded, "Karen, you've asked me to apologize for actions that were yours, and then have the audacity to say that you're better than me. But what's funny, Karen, is the son that you raised turned out to be a lunatic murderer. I will always be better than you." I then sent a laughing emoji ×3, and then posted a link to the old news article. I didn't stick around to watch everything go down, as I was sick of the drama. I removed myself from the group and went about my day, and here's the aftermath. I receive a phone call from a close friend in the evening, and I learned what happened. So after posting the link to the article about Karen's son, the comment section absolutely blew up. Karen and her cronies posted several comments where the admin was tagged, demanding my comment be deleted. My friend also said that there were several posts like this, and they started to sound pretty desperate near the end. The lazy administrator, of course, was too slow to respond. Karen even said something about driving to her house since she wasn't returning her phone calls. After a couple of hours, the whole swap and sell group was deleted, but the damage was done. As for what happened to Karen, I never had the chance to find out, as she deleted her Facebook. I did see her in the grocery store a few weeks later, but she just flipped me off and walked the other way. My friends and I founded a new swap and sell group. It gets bigger every day, but Karen's not a part of it. In my opinion, what OP did was frickin' amazing. Like, that must have been satisfying as heck, shutting down a nasty Karen like that. And I only wish OP stayed to watch the fireworks, because you know those notifications would have been super juicy. And again, I can't say that Karen didn't deserve it. Like, if you're going out of your way to lie, to make someone miserable, and to try to ruin someone publicly in front of who knows how many people in that group, you'd better make sure you don't have any skeletons in your closet. Like, there is no way Karen's recovering from that. She might have to move towns again. So I'm a woman in my 30s, and I made a throwaway because I don't want this tied to my main account at all. Yesterday, our garbage disposal stopped working, and I was trying to see why, so I was looking around under the sink. While doing so, I found in the very back, tucked away, was a mason jar that I thought was just over halfway full of kitchen grease at first. But then I realized it wasn't grease. I thought it looked a bit like male reproductive fluids. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and disgusted, I threw it away in the dumpster outside. It had to have been my husband's, but I don't know why he would save that in a jar. My husband got home and I asked him about it. He seemed really embarrassed, and he confessed it was indeed a jar full of his fluids that he was filling for almost a year. I was in shock, and I asked him why. Why would he do such a thing? He then said when it was my time of the month or I wasn't in the mood, he would go to his jar after I went to bed. I asked him why not go in the toilet or use tissues or do it in the shower or something. Why keep an effing jar? He then defends himself by saying all men do this. So I told him that all men probably do not do this. And I told him that I want him to stop using a jar because it's disgusting. He told me he didn't want to, and then asked where the jar was. I told him I threw it away, and he was so upset. He said it took him a really long time to fill the jar that much, and now he has to start over, and this actually led to an argument. I still don't understand why he wants to fill a jar for F's sake. We argued about it, and during the argument, he opens the fridge, took a large jar of pickles, dumped it out, and starts rinsing it out and said, "This is the new jar now." Before I knew it, I'm literally screaming at my husband about the most ridiculous thing ever. He then clutches the jar and storms off to the bathroom saying, "This is what it's come to." And I was literally speechless. I sat down and started watching TV to take my mind off of it, when my husband comes out and joins me, and he tries to patch things up. I asked him where he hid the jar, and he wouldn't tell me. He told me that we should just forget about the fight, and he apologized, and he told me that he would make sure I never had to see the jar again if I didn't want to. I wanted us to stop fighting, so I agreed, and we didn't speak about it for the rest of the night. He fell asleep early, but I laid in bed for over an hour thinking about this effing jar. I just don't understand why he's so intent on doing something so disgusting, and I'm still angry about it. So am I the a-hole for throwing it away? What a post that was, right? And let's address the comment the husband made about all guys having something like this. I do not think so, sir. And you have to wonder why the heck he was doing that. And as far as OP wondering if she's the a-hole for throwing it away, possibly. Probably. Like, as crappy as it sounds, that is something that belonged to her husband that OP threw away without his knowledge or permission that took a long time to collect. And even if he was embarrassed and was trying to play it off like, oh, all dudes do it. No harm, no foul, right? Like, that's just what I think. But that said though, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's not disgusting because it probably was freaking disgusting. Like, I can't even begin to imagine the rancid smell coming from that jar. But I also don't know because I don't do that. Guys, weigh in, let me know your thoughts, your opinions, and what would you do if you're in OP's shoes? Are you throwing away that jar? Or are you letting your husband keep it? Like, who knows, maybe it's a competition with his guy friends, like who can fill up the jar first. Like, I will say that not all guys have something like that, but it would not be surprising if the husband had friends that are like, bro, I bet I can fill up a jar before you. $100. Anyways, that brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's in our /malicious compliance episode, where bosses are getting absolutely destroyed. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.